And it's the combination of all three sounds is the effect that I want when I'm hearing it out. And this other shuffly hi-hat comes in and is I really want the music to be sexy. I think about that loads.
This episode is being supported by Tape It. If you currently use voice notes to record your ideas, you should try Tape It instead.
Let me try and think about how I made this. I probably started with the drum part. So what are the drum parts? I've got this little bass line. Yeah, I had a bass part and trying to do something very sort of quite simple techno-y sort of thing, which is quite unusual for me to do something that's just so kind of Berghainish or whatever, I suppose. And then this drum part on it is, I have quite a few drum machines, and I'm not somebody who has everything hooked up with MIDI and all this sort of stuff and working on drum machines while I'm making the track. I tend to buy a drum machine and then maybe just play with it here and there and record a load of sounds and then just have loops and stuff of drum machine on my computer. Don't really use any hardware or any instruments when I'm writing music. But I'll spend time with hardware and instruments to create samples, I suppose. So I will have got this sort of fundamental ideas of a drum beat and a bass line going, and then I found an old recording of it's like a TR8, a Roland TR8 and a drum brute, two drum machines sort of hooked together, and I've got this beat going, which when combining that with the other sounds I had, it just made it all more interesting and better. And it's quite sort of lo-fi, because I think...
So, and in terms of putting them together, you're doing all that on your laptop or on a computer?
Everything's done on this laptop. Yeah. The whole record was made on this laptop.
So you've got this kind of array of sounds that you can dip into and bring in for whatever you're working on. Yeah,
when I'm writing music, it's always just me and the laptop, basically. Very, very rarely that I'm sitting down with an instrument to sort of compose in that sort of way. It's writing on the laptop's my thing, and most likely in a sort of unorthodox place, it's very likely that I can't remember on this one, but I was probably lying in bed. So I had those drum parts together and the harp. I'm supposed to go into all the technical sort of little shenanigans, aren't I? I have to take the post note.
You can do.
So the harp's done with Contact, which has got all these orchestral sounds, and so you just select the harp on there, and all these sort of melodic parts. I don't play them in with a keyboard or anything. I just use the piano roll and I just draw everything in. So to do this, I will have tried a combination of notes and got a pattern, and then until I'm just moving the notes around until I find something that's got a good enough sort of melodic hook to it, or has got the notes. I'm not musically trained, so sometimes I can hear it in my head, but I'm moving the notes around and around till it suddenly clicks with what I'm looking for. I love working with, if I work with Fred on something and I can play him any record or mention a note or something, he's able to just play it straight away because he's fully musically trained. A really good combination with the two of us where I'm no, it needs this chord that does this bit or whatever, and he knows what it's actually called and how to get there. So I'm lacking that, but it means that the good side of that is I have all this sort of happy accidents of trying sort of unconventional things. So I'll have just messed around till I had a harp pattern that I liked, and then
were you seeking out that sound to start with? Was it always going to be that kind of a sound?
I was harp is such, I love the sound of harp and it always works for me, and I often start with a harp and be this is so bog standard, Kieran, but let me give a harp a go and see how that fits. I can never sort of get enough of it, and the combination of the harp with quite tough drums is something I really, really, really like. So I had the harp thing, and then I did this trick that I pretty much do on everything always, which is get some sort of MIDI pattern together, and then put some sort of randomization on the velocity of the MIDI notes. So I've put the velocity and I've made it random 15% or whatever. So it's just every time the harp note hits, it's playing it a little harder, a little softer, and then that makes it a little more humanized. And then I'm asking it also to 15% of the time to pick one of the notes and play either an octave up or an octave below, and it stops the pattern being totally repetitive. You just get these little sparkles and twinkles and things. However, every time I play back this track, it's different because of the randomization. So if you listen to the version on the vinyl of the album, it will be different probably to the version that's digitally available and things like that, because every time I render it, the version I DJ is probably different, but different just in the way the little twinkles and stuff happen at different times.
If you, like so many of our guests, use voice notes to capture your ideas, you will love Tape It. It's the iPhone recording app designed specifically for musicians and songwriters. With Tape It, you can record straight from your lock screen, set markers, add notes, and even include photos of settings. Plus, there's Cloud Sync, you can import your old voice notes, and to stay on top of it all, Tape It has great labeling features like automatic instrument detection. And all of the above is free. If you currently use voice notes, switching to Tape It is a no-brainer. And there's more. If you upgrade to Tape It Pro, it uses 2 microphones on your iPhone along with gentler dynamic compression to give a much more natural sound than any of the usual apps. And we have a huge offer for you. 50% off Tape It Pro if you upgrade now. Just go to the app and use the promo code TAPENOTES or click the link in the description below.
I was like, all right, that's my idea. And then it's just about arrangement. I feel, I think arrangement is just everything. Like, people ask me all the time about like, oh, how do you make your music, and how do you get this sound, and how do you do this and that, and how do you do all the thing? And I'm sort of being like, well, yeah, there are ideas about getting nice sounds together, but none of it really matters in comparison to the arrangement. Like, the arrangement is the whole thing that's going to make it work, make it an experience for anybody. Like, there's no point in having a good sound if it's not arranged into anything, and if the track doesn't have some sort of proper sort of arc to it or whatever, then it's not really going to be a sort of great experience and all these things. And the music that people love most is often some of it's recorded really poorly or has things that you would think, oh, this isn't appropriate at all. But the arrangement is so brilliant that everybody's engaged. You know, like loads of Aphex Twin or whatever, like loads of the best things are really quite sort of lo-fi or whatever, but the arrangements and stuff are absolutely brilliant, so that every part of it is emotional. It's part of it. It's a journey. It touches you, you know, like it gets straight to you. So the arrangement aspect of all these things that's the real important thing. Like to have that idea of like, oh, I want to have like a techno sort of beat, a harp, and this guitar noise. You know, you're choosing three things that don't necessarily go together, trying to sort of push them together, and then the main thing I need to do is achieve an arrangement that makes that all work. You know, and that's the point where I'm really, really happy when I'm listening to it, being like, oh wow, it starts off with a noise and then it sort of folds out into this other thing, and the harp comes in, and then, you know, each sound that I've chosen gets to sort of flourish. I'm sort of trying to make that happen, you know?
Yeah. And how do you get to that point? Because it's interesting. You said that you tried it out live. You know, you tried it in different environments to see what was happening with it, and then, you know, the track is 6 minutes 9 seconds long. You know, and
I didn't change that. The arrangement I nailed quite early. I'm sort of happy with the arrangement quite early on. The stuff I'm saying I'm changing all the time with when I'm playing out is the mix, the balance of things. Like, there's this bit up here where, so you can see where I've got into a mess. Like, there's I've got like a kick drum, and then there'll have been some sort of problem with it where I've now added another channel of, it won't have had enough weight. So I've added a very, very small bit of just pure sine wave sub bass underneath the kick that's almost inaudible. Like, you can't hear it on headphones or whatever, but if you're in a big club or something, it just gives the weight just below what's going on. And then I've had another problem with the kick where it's not sort of cutting through, so I've just added this very little click to the kick drum as well. And it's the combination of all three sounds is sort of like getting the effect that I want when I'm hearing it out. But I wouldn't have really understood what I need to do with that sub or adding the click or whatever I don't necessarily see those problems straight away. It's like further down the line.
Yeah.
So I'm doing sometimes I'm doing things, but also trying to make sure it still sounds like me, not too polished and not too clean. So I'm sort of go against some of the things that are kind of right sometimes, or I'm adding hiss, or I'm putting things out of time, off the grid and stuff like that. I think I've got this thing that's just it's called 4 Tet tape techno drums. This is from one of these teenage tapes of mine, like just a little loop of sound, and it's a sort of messy sound like this, then combined with the kicks and the other drum sounds. Like I have an idea like this, but I'll spend a while being like, is the groove on it quite right? Is everything going to sit together in an elegant way where they're all sort of complementing each other? These are the little technical things that I'm looking at, like the timing on every little aspect, like hi-hats or something. There's this bit where the drums are and the bass is going, and this other shuffly hi-hat comes in, and like I'll spend quite a lot of time, like I might play it out and then be like, oh, the shuffle when those drums come in is like, I really want the music to be sexy. Like I think about that loads. It's like when these little elements come in, I want that feeling where everybody's especially if I'm thinking about it being in a club, where it's just got this sort of sexiness to it, where it's like, oh yeah, this is human. Like people want to dance a little bit more and stuff. Like I think about that sort of stuff so much, to know that it's sort of connecting in that sort of way. And something like the shuffle on a hi-hat when it comes in is that the nuances on those things that I'm spending time adjusting, but it's already set in the arrangement when that's going to come in or how it's going to happen. It's more just like making sure the feel of it's exactly as I'm intending. It might take longer.